What up? Have you ever been forced to choose between keeping your job or keeping the peace at home? We talking about it today, baby. Thanks for tuning in to Mike Manifestations Podcast. We in the building. What's up? Hope you guys are getting ready for the holidays. I know we just came back from the mini vacation, mini road trip, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, we back in this building. We ready for the holidays. Yeah. What up? Thanks for tuning in, guys. If you haven't hit that subscribe button, make sure you guys do so on your way in. It doesn't cost you guys a dime, bro. Hit that like, hit that subscribe button. Mike Manifestations Podcast. We appreciate it, guys. Yeah, so like I said, man, some of these relationship problems don't start with cheating. They start with insecurities, baby. How many of you guys got that insecurities? A lot of people do. Fear of losing someone, fear of not being enough, fear of something happening, you know, even when nothing actually has happened. You know, you get them crazy ass insecurities. And if it's insecurity, and if this insecurity isn't addressed the right way, it doesn't just damage trust. It starts controlling decisions that you guys make. You know, whether it's career, finances, mental health. We know mental health's a big one too. So, yeah. So today's episode is built around a Mike drop confessions that I know a lot of couples, especially married couples, are going to feel deeply. So this isn't about picking sides. This isn't about blaming men or blaming women. You know, it's about perspective, empathy, and real solutions before resentment takes over. Once again, I'm Ben. This is Mike Manifestations Podcast, baby. Thanks for tuning in. Let's get into it. Yeah. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Mike Manifestations Podcast. We are 128 subscribers strong, so make sure you guys hit that like, hit that subscribe, hit that share button. Let somebody know about the podcast. It might help someone in the long run. All right, so it's time for Mike Drop Confessions. If you guys haven't heard that, it's a new segment we put into the show. So this is the part of the show where you send in the real stuff, relationship issues, family tension, money stress, situations you don't feel comfortable saying out loud. But everybody knows Mike Manifestations don't give a damn, bro. We talk about what people don't want to hear, what people don't want to talk about. Everything shared here is anonymous, though. No judgment, just honesty. So let's get into today's confession. All right. And like I said, these are all anonymous, guys. So send in your confessions. We'll get into it. We'll give you honest opinions. We ain't doctors. We ain't psychologists or anything like that. But, you know, we get other people's perspective, other help. You know, sometimes they may help somebody. Sometimes they may not. But it's here. Anyways, got an email from James. He writes in and says, "Hey, Ben, I have a question. And maybe I can get different perspectives from men and women out there." He says, "I've been married to my wife for about 2 years. I have two kids, 1 5, 1 2, and a newborn." He says, "I work at a call center where there are both men and women, you know, obviously." But yeah, so he says there's a woman who sits in the next cubicle next to me. And during downtime or in between calls, you know, we chit chat, you know, nothing inappropriate, you know, just everyday life, you know. Obviously, you know, you got coworkers, you know, you shoot the shit every now and then when you're in between calls or you just bored as heck. He says, "My wife is insecure and thinks I have interest in her or that she has interest in me, you know. It's gotten so bad that I've thought about quitting my job." What? But he says, "I'm the sole provider in the household. What should I do Or is it worth quitting my job? What the heck is this dude thinking? Or is his wife thinking, anyways? Man, I know some of you out there are already like, what the? Am I James or am I his wife? But yeah, so what's really happening, man, in this situation here? So James, first off, you know, I respect it for you being honest, sending in the message, letting us know, letting us hear your story here on Mike Manifestations podcast. Now, let's be real though. This situation is not about the women at work. All right. It's about trust. Not hiding messages. You're not flirting. You're not sneaking around behind your wife's back or anything. You know, you're working. You're working that 8 to 5, you know, and talking to a coworker during downtime. You know, that's normal. Like I said, I mean, you got coworkers, you got friends, you know, that work with you side by side. You're just gonna, you know, sometimes, hey, you know, I'm caught up on this situation. You know, can you help me out? Or, you know, I know everybody at your workplace doesn't know everything. So one might be a little expert on one subject, and others may be expert on a different subject. You know, 2 and 2, hey, you get it all worked out, right? But insecurity has a way of creating threats where none exist. And when insecurity isn't handled emotionally, it tries to control behaviors instead. You know? But here's the truth. Most people don't want to hear. And like I said, on Mike Manifestations, we say shit you don't want to hear. But anyways, you cannot fix insecurity by shrinking your life. You know? Quitting your job wouldn't heal it. It would just move the insecurity to the next place or the next workplace you go to. You know, it's not gonna magically go away. You quit that job. You know, unless you're working by yourself in a enclosed space with no one around. You know, insecurity doesn't just show up as a jealousy. It shows up as constant questioning, you know, accusations without proof, monitoring behavior, you know, limiting who you talk to, you know, making you feel guilty for doing nothing. You know, they start checking your phone, checking your location, you know, for those that do share your location, you know, with your spouse or significant other or whatever it may be, you know. But over time, you know, insecurity creates resentment on both sides. You know, it just gets crazier, and you're like, you know, the insecure partner feels anxious and afraid. The other partner feels trapped and exhausted. You know, it's like it's a merry-go-round. And if it's not addressed, insecurity slowly turns into control. So that you're trying to control your life, trying to control every aspect of your life, even when that's not the intention. You know, it turns into that. Some of you are like, damn, that's crazy, huh? Now, empathy matters. Insecurity usually comes from somewhere. You know, past betrayal, fear of abandonment, low self-worth, feeling emotionally disconnected. So this isn't about dismissing your wife's feelings. You know, obviously, you know, you want to reassure her. But it's also not about sacrificing stability to manage fear. You know, but put yourself in, you know, tell her, you know, put yourself in my shoes, which this is something I would probably tell my wife or my significant other, you know, and this is where perspective becomes powerful. You know, sometimes the real conversation sounds like this. Not exactly, but, you know, you get the point. You know, like, hey, let's switch roles, you know. And this is, like I said, this is exactly what I would probably tell my wife. You know, I'll quit my job. I'll stay home. I'll take care of the kids. I'll cook that dinner. I'll do that laundry, and you go to work full time. Right? Some of you like, dang, I never thought about it that way. Not as a threat, but as a reality check sometimes. Because when you're the sole provider, your job isn't just a job. At that point, you got people to think about. It's food, it's rent, it's stability, it's security for the whole household. If you don't go to work and make that cheddar, who else is gonna do it? Who else is gonna feed them 3 kids you got at home? If she wouldn't be okay with you questioning her coworkers, monitoring her conversations, or asking her to quit her job, then she needs to sit down with that truth. Be like, hey, you take over then. And I know there's a lot of guys that be like, hey, if you can make the cheddar I'm making, I'll stay home and feed the kids and make the dinner and do everything else that needs to be done. Hey, it might not be easy, but hey, like I said, switching them roles sometimes would be like, you do it. But anyways, James, here's the mic drop moment. You should not quit your job, bro. But you should have an honest conversation that includes, like I said, reassurance, transparency, boundaries, and accountability. You can say something like this, say, I love you, I'm committed, I'm not doing anything wrong, but I can't sacrifice our stability to manage insecurity. Dang, that's deep, huh? Think about that. Hold on, let me say it again, because that came out better than I thought it was. But yeah, like I said, let her know I love you, I'm committed, I'm not doing anything wrong, but I can't sacrifice our stability to manage insecurity. Truth isn't built through isolation. It's built through consistency. If you quit today, tomorrow it'll be the gym, the store, another coworker. You don't outrun insecurity. You work through it. That's crazy, huh? But yeah, so quick shout out to today's sponsor, W.GG. When I'm recording, editing, or diving into heavy relationship topics like this, I need focus and energy without feeling jittery or crashing later, like some of them energy drinks do. But Tubby delivers, clean energy and focus, for nonsense. No nonsense, no crash. If you want to support the podcast, check out our sponsors at W.GG. Supporting our sponsors helps keep these conversations going, helps support the channel, and helps us put out these podcasts every week. But yeah, thank you guys. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button as well. Like I said, use the promo code Mike Manifestation Podcast 24. Get 10% off with that promo code at www.dubby.gg. Now, if you were James, what would you do? Let me know, guys, in the comments. Would you quit your job for peace at home, or would you ask your partner to work through insecurity together? That's crazy, huh? I don't know, man. I don't know what would happen. But like I said, that's probably what I would start off with would be, hey, let's switch roles and see where we go. But anyways, Mic Drop Confessions is open. It's a new segment here on the Mike Manifestations podcast, guys. Anonymous stories, no judgment, real talk. If you're dealing with trust issues, insecurities, money stress, or hard relationship decisions, submit your confessions. The link is in the description. Send me an email, send me a DM, all the social media platforms, wherever you guys listen to Mike Manifestations at. Drop your confession and let the mic speak, baby. Yep. And like I said, everything's anonymous, guys. So if you don't want to address you by name or address the other person or persons involved, you can always, like I said, just make sure let me know it's anonymous. You don't want to, like this isn't really James that wrote in, but we just named him as James for today's episode. Anyways, James, wanting peace doesn't make you wrong, bro. But peace built on fear and sacrifice without boundaries is gonna turn into resentment, bro, in the long run. You know what I mean? Healthy relationships require reassurance and trust and work. That's the main thing. Work. You guys gotta work at it. You gotta be, you gotta make sure that your wife is reassured that, and you may be doing it, like I said, it's just, reassurance and trust and just working at the relationship is what's gonna make you guys push through. And to everyone listening, guys, thank you. We're officially at 128 subscribers, and that's because of all of you guys listening, tuning in, hitting that like, hitting that subscribe button. So make sure you guys hit that like, hit that subscribe button right now. It doesn't cost you guys a dime. Hit that like, hit that subscribe, hit that bell notification too. That way you're notified when these podcasts comes out every Tuesday here on Mike Manifestations Podcast. So if this episode helped you, like I said, make sure you guys, if this made you think or maybe you feel seen, please, like I said, like, subscribe, and share this podcast. With your help, we're pushing towards 1,000 subscribers, guys, and every single click matters. Like I said, it doesn't cost anything for you guys to hit that like, hit that subscribe button. It just helps the podcast grow, stay out there, help you guys with these subjects, with this mic drop confessions. So this is Mike Manifestations Podcast, guys. Stay aware, stay grounded, and stay human, baby. We'll catch you guys on the next episode. Sending them mic drop confessions, baby. We'll catch you guys on the next one. We out. Peace. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Happy holidays. Make sure you guys have a happy Merry Christmas, safe New Year's. Catch you guys on the next one. Peace. We out.
You know how we get down, chilling in the party with hoodie rats around. Could it be they love the way we talk, the way we move, the way we walk, or the way we grew? Whatever it is, they love it. California thuggin'.